Hey there again, gang. I am just going to talk just a few minutes about Chapter 18 in your textbook. Chapter 18, and for the next few chapters, starts to get into special populations. So we're going to talk about pregnancy in this particular chapter, and then age. So for example, the youth fitness end of it, and then also the older adult population. From there on, each chapter gets into a special population. So basically through, almost the rest of the book, we're going to talk about certain conditions and certain populations. So for this chapter 18, I just wanted to touch on a couple different things. And the first one is just the pregnancy. So many of you at some point might train a client who is pregnant when they hire you, or they become pregnant as you're training them. So as a personal trainer, we want to make sure that we're following the guidelines that are set forth for pregnancy when we're doing our exercise programming. So as far as the benefits go, they far outweigh the risks when it comes down to it. But it definitely helps those women to gain less weight throughout the course of the pregnancy. Normal recommended weight gains anywhere from say 25 to 30, maybe 35 pounds, as long as a woman goes into pregnancy at a healthy weight. Please note that that's not the case with a lot of women. They think they're eating for two and they gain 90 pounds or 100 pounds during pregnancy and find that it's very, very hard to take off once they've had that baby. So definitely encouraging exercise, but I have to say that if they have never exercised prior to becoming pregnant, this is not a time for them to start an exercise program because they're adding undue stress on their body that it's not used to performing. So you want to make sure that we stress that. If they've been exercising up to becoming pregnant, then they can continue on for the most part. As long as they have their OB okay, they can continue on through pregnancy. So also another benefit is that a faster return to prior fitness levels. So they tend to bounce back rather quickly and maintain or obtain those fitness levels prior to becoming pregnant when they exercise through the duration. Also, they have a reduced incidence of disease conditions associated with pregnancy. So for example, many women suffer preeclampsia, which is basically hypertension that's induced by the pregnancy. And women who suffer preeclampsia tend to have to go on bed rest and they cannot do anything. I know my sister had it during one of her pregnancies, and she was literally off work at home and had to lay supine in bed for, the last few months of her pregnancy. So that's not fun. So exercising up to and throughout pregnancy can definitely help eliminate conditions like of that. Also facilitated recovery from labor. So women the labor process tends to be easier, and I'm speaking from experience. Definitely it's a lot easier. And then the recovery after, you seem to bounce back again and you're ready to get up and get moving rather quickly after having that baby. So as far as your recommendations go, definitely the first thing as a personal trainer, you want to make sure you get clearance from their OB. Okay, so tell them, go talk to your doctor, your OB, your obstetrician, make sure you get clearance as far as, the programming that we're going to be doing together. And again, most OBs are going to say, great, yep, absolutely, this is the best thing for you to do. Also, balance the aerobic and the resistance training together. So don't, weigh one over the other. Have a healthy balance of doing the aerobic exercise each week with some resistance training along with it. As far as the resistance training goes, we want to incorporate more of the side lying or crawling, like hands and knees positions, because anything supine when they're laying on their back after the first trimester is not recommended. So we can lay on our back up to that first trimester and through it, but when we hit the second trimester, we don't want to be laying flat on our back or flat on our belly. So that's why try to incorporate things that they're laying on their side versus flat on their back, or they're in a crawling position on their hands and knees versus laying flat on their belly. Multiple repetitions, so it's not about lifting heavy weights and smaller reps. It's about more of an endurance-based workout, so more repetitions at a lighter weight, and also focus on the pelvic floor and the abdominal. So specifically like Kegel exercises are so important for those women as they go through pregnancy to help with those pelvic floor muscles. Concerns as far as intensity goes, really around a 12 to 14 RPE. That's on a scale of 6 to 20. Um, some ACOG, American College of Gynecologists, would recommend, not letting their heart rate get above 140 beats per minute when you look at some of those guidelines that are out there. But roughly around 15 to 30 minutes a day is recommended for resistance training. Again, it's more reps, 12 to 15. Don't lay on their back after that first trimester. Be careful with balance training, especially when they progress through that third trimester. Their center of gravity starts to change when they're holding that baby and they start to pull them forward as their belly starts to get larger in that third trimester. So they already have balance issues, and then when you add a balance activity in that third trimester, you're just asking for maybe a fall, which we definitely don't want to see happen. So be cautious about balance training, especially as their center of mass changes throughout the pregnancy. And then minimize large body temperature increases. So women throughout pregnancy tend to have a problem with cooling their body, and fetal hyperthermia is a concern where the fetus overheats. So we don't want them exercising in a really hot environment. We want a lot of fans around, blowing on them, air circulating to make them comfortable. Also, for example, riding on a bicycle, we might need to move to a larger seat to accommodate that discomfort that they might be having during those later months of pregnancy. So there are a few basic things we can do, to help our client continue to exercise through pregnancy, and modifications that we can make as they progress through pregnancy. So what I'd like you to do now is go ahead and think about some of these recommendations. I've provided some articles as well that I'll show you that I'd like you to look at, and I'd like you to try to go ahead and come up with a sample 1-week routine for a 30-year-old pregnant woman. So just over a week, it's not going to be every day, obviously, but give me, a few days out of the week and what particular exercises you might choose for that female to perform. Next, let's take a look at elderly. So for the elderly client, and again, some of us might want to work with that older population. So we know, again, benefits far outweigh the risks of exercise. So definitely aerobic training is so important for this population, because it's going to help increase their cardiorespiratory fitness. It's going to increase their calorie utilization and reduce their body weight, which in turn is going to help reduce their risk of many of those chronic diseases and even stress. So aerobic exercise is so important for that elderly population. Anaerobic exercise is also important. It also increases their cardiorespiratory fitness, but also decreases their risk of many health conditions. So doing, resistance training and anaerobic, workouts of that nature are also very helpful for that population, because we know osteoporosis especially is very prevalent when people get older. And so we're doing weight-bearing exercise. We're stressing those bones a little bit through the weight-bearing exercise as much as possible. We're resistance training. That is going to help increase that bone density and therefore reduce their risk of osteoporosis. As far as guidelines go for the elderly, roughly for aerobic exercise, we'd like to do that prior to resistance training. So do your cardio first and then your resistance training last. 60 to 90% of a max heart rate, so it's going to be pretty low for that older population. Resistance training, again, focus on controlled range of motion and full range of motion when you're doing those exercises. So they could be simple, body weight things. We could do just dumbbell exercises. If there's resistance training equipment, we could use those machines as well. But we really want to focus on activities of daily living, ADLs. So for that older population, what are ways that we can help them through training improve their ability to do things around the house that they might have difficulty doing? So finding out what are those things they have issues with and helping them improve upon that. So same thing for the older adult. What I'd like you to do is write up a sample week routine for a 62-year-old female. She's been exercising 3 days a week up to this point, so she's been relatively active. So I'd like you to come up with, a basic training exercise routine for 3 days, or for a week, I'm sorry. So so that's your homework for the older adult. And then lastly, for the youth, for kiddos, we know, again, benefits far outweigh the risks, but definitely it helps improve their strength, increases their motor skill ability, enhances cardiovascular fitness. So definitely also decreases risk of sport-related injury. So, lots of big benefits of doing exercise for that younger population. Specific guidelines, around 60 minutes a day accumulated of physical activity is recommended. Gradual progressions are important. Variety is the key, and enjoyment. So kids don't necessarily like a structured, exercise routine that you might give to an adult, but maybe gamify it, make it fun, do fun gaming type activities, make it a competitive atmosphere sometimes. They enjoy that, but you have to keep it fun and give frequent breaks to those kids as well. So that's a challenging part of it, but it also can be really, really fun as well. So for resistance training, as long as they're ready for an organized sport, they're generally ready for a resistance training program, but we want to focus more on form and technique versus how much weight they're lifting. So I know a lot of kids want to get in there and just lift the whole weight stack. It's more about form first and technique and performing it correctly versus the load and how much they're lifting. So begin with light to moderate intensity. So maybe 10 to 15 reps is a good rep range, and lots of multi-joint ground-based exercises are great. So for the youth, I'd also like you to write up a 1-week sample routine for an 8-year-old boy. So for this PowerPoint presentation, your homework is that 1-week routine for the boy, for the older adult, and then for the pregnant female participant. As far as homework that goes along with Chapter 18, I also have uploaded under the content button Chapter 18 PowerPoint lecture questions. So in addition to that, I've uploaded your homework first, which describes what you're going to be doing. So I'm having you read some articles and view some links that I've uploaded. Okay, so the first one is reading an article from the Personal Trainer Quarterly 5.1 journal. So you're going to have to go back and find that under the article review instruction module. And if you go to journal 5.1 and download that document, the article is on page 4. So the article is called Strength Training for the Older Adult, a Blueprint for Program Design, and it's by Robert Linkle. Okay, so I want you to read through that article and you're going to answer these questions. The next question is you're going to view the link that I uploaded. So if you go back to your Chapter 18 module here and you click on Youth Fitness, the ABCs of Physical Activity, an article will pop up, and with that article you will see you're going to want to read the article obviously first, but then also you're going to watch this YouTube video that goes along with it. So once you've done that, then you're going to answer some questions about that. Okay, and the next one, I uploaded another article, Youth Physical Activity Guidelines. So you're going to click on that link and you're going to view that article. Let me go back here. So Youth Physical Activity Guidelines. You're going to click on that, view that article, and you're going to answer the questions that I have for that. Okay, and then lastly, I've uploaded an article on exercise in pregnancy, training the prenatal clients. So you're going to watch the YouTube video and read the article that goes along with it and answer these specific questions. So just some supplemental material from other sources than just your textbook that gives some valid information about these special populations. So I wanted you to read through those, view the videos, answer the questions. So that homework for Chapter 18 is also going to be due in the assignment folder that I've made for it right here. Oh, I haven't made it yet. I'm going to make it. So it will pop up at the bottom. So Chapter 18 homework, and it will be due on Sunday, April 5th. Okay, so you've got another week to complete that, but I just wanted to get that out to you ahead of time. So that is Chapter 18. So I will be scheduling another virtual classroom meeting for Monday. Okay, so this coming up Monday, I've got it scheduled already. So on the 30th at noon. So this will be a meeting just to answer questions about chapter 7 homework, maybe this chapter 18 homework. So that meeting will be giving you a chance to just ask questions and clarify. I can clarify things that you might be curious about, and anything pertaining to these two chapters, 7 and chapter 18. So have a good weekend, everybody.